Hello everyone and welcome to the first video to expand my channel. You may have noticed that the channel name changed to Tompkins and Tech and Secret Driver Club. Today I'm going to just introduce you to my workshop that I've just started moving into, and it's still an absolute mess. But Tompkins and Tech basically specialises in the EV side of the market, whether it be conversions or utilising the batteries out of EVs, for instance damaged vehicles, for other uses like battery storage. More on that in videos to come. There's a lovely MG there that is going to have some modern technology in it, which will be another series of videos. This video, however, in typical fashion, I needed a works vehicle, so instead of buying something that works, I went out and bought a really cheap one that's broken. So here is the broken vehicle. It is a VW T5. It's a lovely orange colour to match my car, and it's had actually a very nice camper conversion, and with the symbol on there, you will now know that it is called Foxy. So I bought it knowing it had a bad engine. Water pump had actually come unbolted, mashed things up a bit, leaked all the water into the actual engine oil and overheated the engine. I replaced the water pump, and the water pump, it all started working fine. I ran it for a week, and then suddenly, without any warning, very nearly stalled on me, and then was running basically on 4 cylinders because it's a 5-cylinder. So diagnostic unit out, and yeah, it's massively overfueling on one of the cylinders, which generally indicates it's low on compression. What I did do, I don't know where it is now, it's probably in here somewhere. There is a very rancid, no, chucked it already. I took the oil filter out, and it is absolutely saturated with metal. So bottom end's gone basically. So today I will be taking this engine out, and thought I may as well do a video on it in case any of you want to buy broken VWs as well. So first of all, take the fluids out, that sort of thing, and then this entire front with the radiator and intercooler will actually come off as one piece. So let's get to it. Okay, so the radiator system is off. Radiator and intercooler are sort of attached together, which is handy. So that comes off. I've disconnected things across this top rail. I just need to do the power steering side. I'll just unbolt that for now, and then this front panel will then just lift off. It's just got a couple of bolt attachments and up in these corners each side, and then that should actually, some bolts there, just lift out, and it'll give me access to the entire front of the van then to just start disconnecting everything else. So I'll get on with that and see how it goes. So with the front unbolted, that's like the front sort of crash bar as well, that just sort of bolts onto this section each side there. You've now got full access to the front of the engine. It doesn't take very long to do, which is always nice. So next you've got power steering, essentially this small radiator for the power steering fluid. So we need to disconnect because that pipe is coming back from the power steering. This is the main one. It's in a sleeve that connects to the power steering pump down here. I'm going to disconnect it here and here, and then I'll probably take this off as well because it's a bit delicate. And then your wiring loom essentially is just across this front, which is your glow plugs, a couple of sensors, temperature sensors, things like that. So they can all get disconnected and kind of move over to the side. And then you've just got a couple of fuel pump connections, a couple of hoses, things like that. And then you're on to actually doing the sort of engine mounts themselves, taking the drive shafts out. So we'll crack on and get that sorted. So I've disconnected all the front, I've taken the inlet manifold off, and then what you're basically left with is this whole wiring loom. It just goes across the front and connects to a few sensors this side, but that can all just sort of get disconnected off alternators, things like that, and it just peels back out of the way. I've disconnected the power steering side of things, so that's the pump just down there at the bottom. This empty space is air conditioning, so if it's got aircon you'll have an extra point there, but this van doesn't. So that's sort of the front end disconnected. Now it's the fuel. I'm actually going to take the pump off and just get it out of the way anyway, and I'm going to undo the actual camshaft bolt slightly, because it's very tight. While the engine's all anchored in place, it's going to be a lot easier to do, because I'm going to be taking the crank out of this because I think it's a bearing that's spun. So because these are an aluminium block, you've actually got like tension bars that run all the way through to near the head, still in the block, and it's like on a sleeve that slips. So if you take the crank out of the bottom, you have to take the head off and retorque the head, because the head and the crank actually pull on each other. So the crank bolts around the shells are, I think, about 30 Newton meters, something like that. Don't quote me on that, but not much. And then you actually put the head on the top, and the head pulls those in, and you torque the head up to a much higher setting. So that's how it kind of works on these blocks, because they're aluminium. Aluminium means it's lighter, which helps with lifting and shifting. So yeah, I'll undo that, and then it's just the gearbox side of things. So taking off the gear lever sort of mechanisms, taking off the clutch, power supply off the starter motor, and then it's just the exhaust off the back of the turbo. Can probably leave the exhaust in position though, get the airbox out of the way just so it's a bit easier. And then that's essentially getting ready, once you got the drive shafts out, to actually start undoing the engine mounts and lifting it out. So everything's disconnected now. I've done obviously all that wiring loom. I've just pushed all the way to the side there, then disconnected things off the starter motor. Then you've got a little bit back there, that's your gear stick arrangement just into the gearbox. They just pop off little clips. So I think that's basically everything done. The rear heater pipes have just been disconnected off the back. The exhaust where it connects to the turbo is, because the turbo is just tucked down in that corner there. So now really I just need to jack up the car, take the wheels off, undo the centre nuts to start getting the drive shafts out. And once the drive shafts are out, it's just engine mounts, and it should hopefully just all lift out. So there you go. Right, okay, everything's disconnected on the engine, and what I've done now is I've actually just jacked the van up and taken the wheels off. But what I did do before I actually took it off the floor was took out the centre nuts, because they are really tight. I think about 200 Newton meters they're tightened to. So I just got the DAC on it and spun them off before the wheels went up. Otherwise, unless you've got the tool to sort of try and lock the wheel to the floor to stop it moving, again it's a bit of a pain to try and sort out. So now essentially on each side I'm just going to lock the wheel out, break off the bottom joint, and so the hub will then have a bit of a swing to it. And so with that out of there, you can see, I'm not sure if you can see in there, there's basically two little bolts, like retaining bolts, that just holds the drive shaft in its position sort of on the gearbox. So undo those two little bolts, give that a little bit of a tap, and hopefully the drive shaft will just pop out. Sometimes you might need a like a hub puller almost to pop that, but maybe with a bit of a tap it should come out. The engine has been out of this fairly recently, I think, looking at its history, which isn't great, is it? But I'll pop the joints out now, get the drive shafts out, and then it's just the mountings left to actually lift the engine out. So the drive shafts are out. I tried to pop ball joint on the bottom of the suspension, absolute nightmare, so it was easier just to unbolt the wishbone off the subframe. So I have done that. So essentially now we're at the point where everything's disconnected. It's literally the engine mounts. So you've got a large one at the front here, you've got a side one there, there's one at the back which you can access. My ramps aren't actually up and working yet, which is annoying. So I crawl under the floor and just undo the back one. And then there's one on the gearbox that you'll probably see better there, that just bolts up onto it. And so the idea is to get the engine lift in, get some harnesses around it, and take those off and try and pull it out. And there we have it, engine's out. It's a tight squeeze really because of the wiring loom at the side. But that's what you're basically left with internally. Not too bad, just a bit of a clean up really. I've got to unplug that, but it looks like it's just popped out, so that's not too bad. So now it's really stripping the engine down and checking out the bottom end, which I think is the problem with this engine. But that is it for this episode on how to take out a VW 2.5 litre engine. Cheers.